everybody, it's Lon.TV with a really interesting drive that the folks from Western Digital sent to the show to review. This is the Passport Pro, and it is a Thunderbolt powered dual drive array, and it doesn't require any AC power. So on board are two terabyte, at least on this model, two 2 terabyte notebook drives that are basically bounded together inside this enclosure. And everything is powered and all the data transfers through a single Thunderbolt cable, which I think is pretty cool. So now it comes configured as RAID 0, which I like to call sometimes, and many others call it too, scary RAID, in that you're getting basically the combined storage of the two drives. So you're getting a total of 4 terabytes and additional performance. You're basically getting the full speed of both drives combined, which is really nice. You get SSD level kind of throughputs on here. However, that speed and capacity comes at the expense of redundancy. So if you're using it in the default mode of RAID 0, you probably would want to think about having a good backup nearby, especially if you're working on something that you don't want to lose. So you might want to buy 2 drives or have maybe a slower drive connected that you're using some kind of backup strategy with, just to make sure that everything will remain where it is in case something goes wrong. But as you can see on our little benchmark here, you do get some really good speeds, both reads and writes. So running my favorite disk speed test benchmarking application from Blackmagic, I use this to measure hard drive speed. And as you can see here in that RAID 0 mode, where we're kind of striping across both disks, we're getting about anywhere from 194 to 200 megabytes of write speed. Here we're going up as high as 210, and some very, very fast reads, which is what you'd expect out of Thunderbolt. And again, we're getting those speeds because we've bound those two things together. Now, the RAID is maintained by the operating system. It comes formatted for Mac OS X, although I suppose you could plug it into Windows and reformat it and have Windows manage that RAID. But they've also included a really handy disk utility. The utility has a lot of neat features on board. You can do a smart test. You can do some read and write tests. There's a quick one here that takes 2 or 3 minutes to kind of read and write a file to the drive. But it'll also do a complete drive test where it really goes and hammers every sector to make sure things are working properly. And that's really something you want to do, especially if you're running it in RAID 0 mode, because again, you don't have the redundancy. It's a nice way to kind of make sure everything is on the up and up. You can also manage the RAID array directly through the utility here. So you can change the array around within your operating system's native RAID configuration. So OS X, it would be disk utility, or on Windows and drive management. But you can also pop in here and do the same thing. So we will switch this over to mirrored, and I just want to see what kind of speeds we're looking at when we do that. So the nice thing about having a drive with nothing on it is that we can blow out the drive and start over again. So we're going to let that format real quick here, and once that's done, we'll do another test. But you can also just erase the drive if you want through the utility, which could be a little dangerous. And of course, you can register it with Western Digital for all of your future warranty needs. Okay, our RAID array is reconfigured, and our drive is now showing only 2 terabytes available, and that's because we are mirroring the contents of one drive to the other, so we have redundancy. So again, we give up some performance. As you can see here, we're about half the speed we were before. And we're also giving up half of our space, but we are getting the redundancy that we'd like to have in case something goes bad. And especially nice to have an external hard drive that might be carried around in your bag or something, to know that you do have some redundancy on board with it. So a pretty neat little handy feature to have. Now, when you configure those RAIDs, you're going to lose all your data, so you may want to make sure you back up things before you go too much further. Now, this is one of the few Thunderbolt devices we've tested recently that actually comes with a Thunderbolt cable, and it stores itself nicely on the case here. The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous is that there is a bit of a bend on the cable when it is back in its home position. Now, the permanent side of this cable, because you can't change the cable out, it's basically hardwired to the case. It also bends here as well, but being a child of the 80s, I've never liked bending my cables like that. So I think I'm probably just going to leave it hanging out here just to be safe. But overall, I think this is a really nice hard drive. It's it's simple. It's a drive, but it's 2 drives, and you can configure it for RAID 0, RAID 1, or again JBOD, just a bunch of disks, and have 2 separate 2 terabyte drives on board as well. So pretty flexible in its design. Again, very flexible in that you don't need to lug around a power cable, and you can get a really high performance drive in a portable way that you can use to edit video out in the field. So I like it. This is Lon.TV, and thanks for watching.